Okay, I am live again. We're going to try this again and see if this will work better this time. I really, really hope people show up because of the technological snafu, which was, I've been doing these lives like regularly and daily, and now I don't see it on the Facebook page. I'm going to try to see if I can see it through my phone. Just so because on the live studio place, sometimes it's not very easy to see all the comments that come in, and I really want to be able to see the comments. And so I am just, I'm just trying to make sure. Okay, so for some reason I'm showing up, but it's not showing up on my Facebook desktop that I'm showing up on the qualitative research and education space, but it is showing up in the somewhere else. It is showing up somewhere else. But anyway, as you come in, please say hello. Please tell me you're here. And I am so happy to hang out with you. Whoever is here after all the technological snafu, please say hi so I know that you're seeing me, so I know that I am being seen. And I would love some verification on audio and video check. You can hear me, you can see me, and we can get started. Okay, so with that being said, I am excited to talk about the top 5 mistakes in qualitative research. I will get us started as people come in. I think this snafu that just happened is thrown up a few people off a little bit. I apologize for that. I genuinely have no idea why this had happened. I have no idea why this had happened. I have no idea why things flew away like that. I have no idea. Okay, so let's talk about setting up qualitative research design. So if you are hearing, please let me know. I want to make sure there's a sign of life out there. Somebody please type in chat that you can hear me and see me, so I at least know that you can hear me and see me. That's super important. So please let me know. Please let me know if you can hear and see me, so I can get started. Because sometimes it feels like I'm just talking to the void by myself. And so I just want to make sure that I can hear you and see you, and you can hear me and see me. Both of those are equally important. Okay, with that being said, we will get going. Okay, so welcome everyone. Today we are going to be talking about top 5 mistakes in setting up a qualitative research design Facebook, and we're doing a Facebook Live on that topic. Hey Molly, thank you so much. Finally, somebody gave me sign of life out there. Okay, awesome. All right, so I am excited. I am super excited, and I have somebody who just messaged me saying something. This is commented on the link. Oh, okay, so that's on something else. Okay, sorry. The ADHD brain, like who's talking? What are they saying? Why is there a comment here? Okay. All right, so today, if this is your first time coming into this live, welcome. You are in for a treat. We do this live every Sunday. We try to be as responsive to community needs and questions that come up. So if there is a topic you want me to do a live on, please let me know. The reason why I do this live, the reason why I do this live is this. When I was a graduate student and a junior faculty, there's a lot of things that I didn't know. And I also didn't know what I didn't know. And I don't think there's anything out there that tells you these things in a non-pretentious way. Like you can have like a workshop or a session or everything, and everybody's sort of like in sort of like an academic mode. And I kind of want to drop that a little bit to be able to have real talk, about all the things that matter. Because in academia, we sometimes get hung up on a word or this or that. We work on very micro niche level, and that's fine. I'm not saying we shouldn't. Nuance is important. But for people that haven't had good training, good background in qualitative research, you're just sort of like trying to figure things out as best as you can. And if you don't have somebody to go ask questions to, then you're just going to try to draw from so many different readings and discernment and everything, and which you will do anyway. But what if you had somebody that you can bounce your ideas with? What if you had somebody that told you some of the contours of it and then you'd figure things out? That's what I'm trying to do here. And that's what I do here, because I really wish that I had somebody to go to ask the questions that pop up in my mind. And I want to have this sort of steady commitment to the community here that we have built since COVID. Actually, we started when COVID started, and now 5 years later, it's a 9,000 people community. I'm grateful to you all that we were able to build this community. My husband got laid off in that process. I offered some workshops and mentoring programs from, and advertised to this community, and we were able to like pay the bills and all that stuff. And so I'm super, super grateful. So it's been very, very reciprocal relationship with this community, and I would love to keep going. And this is my paying it forward, So that's what I'm doing. So what I would love for you all to do is feel free to talk in chat at me, to me, or with each other, comment, emote, do whatever you need. I am heavily relational. So all the things you're doing in chat is going to give me life. Monica, you're here. Hello. Nice to see you again. Hi, Nichada. Kalamazoo in the house. Hi, Sonia. Hello, Molly. Thank you for telling me. Oh, this is so nice to see some familiar faces. Okay. Let's get started. What do? I am a university professor at the University of Florida. I am in the research evaluation and measurement program, and I am the qualitative research methodologist lead faculty as well. So I have been teaching qualitative research since 2005. So this 2025 will mark my 20th year teaching in higher education. And I will tell you this, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like I'm still new, but apparently I'm a senior faculty in the field now. So I will wear the crown. Adjusting the crown. Okay. So I teach qualitative research classes. That is all I teach. It's qualitative research classes. 20 years of teaching qualitative research classes. That is all. And then so many dissertations, hundreds of dissertations that I have chaired, and many others that I've sat in as a methodologist, and others I've sat in as an external examiner. I also have a journal that I edit, Departures in Critical Qualitative Research, and I have a book series, Futures of Data Analysis and Qualitative Research with Rutledge. Pretty much every book that was written in that series, all the authors have won awards or honorary mentions, and I mentored them very, very closely as well. Okay, with that being said, that's just background. So if you didn't know me, you would know. Let's talk about the 5 mistakes that I was talking about. So why did I choose this topic? The reason I chose this topic is a lot of times people don't understand the value of design. When people think of qualitative research, they think I'll do interviews and focus group, and then they think that's qualitative research. And I really wanted to debunk that, so I wanted you all to have a broader perspective on design than to think, if you were thinking I'm going to do qualitative research, that automatically your head went to interviews and focus groups, so that's what a lot of people think. Even people who try to do mixed methods research think that if they tack on an interview or focus group at the end, it becomes somehow qualitative. And I call them mixed up methods. There are good mixed method studies, but tacking on a interview focus group at the end without a design is not solid at all. So that's one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about that all. Design is the foundation of your study, but in qualitative research there is no standard. So when you think like, am I getting this right? So when you're doing a design, when you're setting up a design and you're wondering, am I getting this right? This is where you have to understand the currency of you getting it right is actually your justification. How are you justifying things? That is the currency of you getting it right. And a lot of people will not tell you, so you think that you're supposed to meet some imaginary standard of getting things right. So I've had a lot of people that ask, hi, one of the authors are here. Tolliver is in the house. Yes, Tolliver is in the house. She's fantastic. I loved working with Tolliver. In fact, Stephanie, actually, I met her and talked to her in this group, like right when she just graduated, and Stephanie came, and Stephanie was like, hi, I'm graduating. Here's my dissertation. Here's my topic. I want to publish, but no one's publishing. And I'm like, talk to me. Let's chat. And then everything is history from there on. Stephanie's a rock star in her own right. I just was very fortunate to partner with her for the first part of her journey straight out of graduate school. And I'm just so thrilled, Stephanie, to see all the cool things you're doing. Fetwi! Hello. You're here. here. This is so good. I am so glad to see you all, despite all the technological snafu. Okay. All right. So, there is no standard. The justification is the currency, and that your design will make or break the study. And by now, you should also know that there is no one size that fits all. So even if you say, I am doing a phenomenological study, even if you try to copy somebody else's exact phenomenological study, yours would be different. Like, even if you took the exact questions, the exact design, exact demographic, yours would still be the different. And do you know why it would be different? Because you are a different human. You have your own interpretation. You are not a machine. You are not a bot. So you're going to interpret things in your own way, with your positionality, with your worldview, with your analysis. So even if the topic is same, the design is same, the people are the same, the questions are the same, your take on it would be your take. That would make it uniquely located in your analysis, in your embodied experience, in your everything. So this is why design, aligned design, responsive design, culturally situated design, decolonial design, all of those things have to be very, very important. So sometimes what happens is people have come to me and said, I know how to do qualitative research design. I have to take a sip. I know how to do qualitative research design. And they'll say, I've done a focus group, or I've done an interview, I've done some observation. That doesn't mean you know how to do design. That means you know how to use qualitative research methods, one method. So let me parse this down. There is methodology, and then there is methods. A lot of times people use these two terms synonymously, but they're not synonymous terms. Methodology is the blueprint. It's the plan. It's the what will you do. It's the design. That's your methodology. So methodology can be ethnography. Methodology can be narrative inquiry. Methodology can be feminist studies. Methodology can be grounded theory studies. Methodology can be case study. Methodology can be participatory action research. So those are methodology. Now, methods are the tangible things you can do. What are the tangible things? So you can have methods of data collection, interviews, observations, photo elicitations, document analysis, media analysis, any of those things, any of these things that you're collecting, they are methods of data collection. Then you're going to have methods of data analysis. This is how are you going to analyze the methods? Tangible, what exactly will you be doing? So that can be, I have to take a sip. That can be coding, that can be arts-based analysis, that can be phenomenological analysis, that can be no analysis, that can be storytelling, that can be narrative analysis. There's a lot of different types of analysis, ethnodrama analysis. So those are methods. So anything you're going to do tangibly, those are the methods. Things that you can touch and feel, those are the methods. Methods of data collection, methods of analysis, methods of data representation. How will you represent the data? So how you will represent the data could be thematic representation, could be a case study representation, could be a storied representation, could be, a creative nonfiction representation, could be a social fiction representation. There's just so many arts-based representation. There's ethnodrama representation. So each one of these are methods of representation. So you have a method. This is the method. This is the process through which I am representing. So anything that is the tangible thing, the actual tangible thing you're doing is the method. The big plan, that's the methodology. So don't get that twisted. So what I tell people is that the methods of data collection, the interviews, observation, document analysis, pictures, whatever it is that you're doing, they can go with multiple methodology. They are very promiscuous. They're very flirty. They play with everybody. So methods can go with many types of methodology, so the methodologies don't always have to be like ethnography can only be this. No, ethnography can have interviews. So can case study. So can feminist studies. So can grounded theory studies. These things can all have interviews. So interviews don't all belong to ethnography only. Interviews don't belong to phenomenology only. So I want you to get this right. There is methodology, that's the design, and then there's methods of data collection that can be mixed and matched. Are we clear? Are we good? I want to make sure that we're all on the same page on this one. Is this good? What methods come under narrative inquiry methodology? One is narrative analysis. Methods of what, Nabila? Methods of data collection, methods of data analysis. Which one? Case study is a methodology, but case study is also a form of representation as well. So case study as a methodology has the big blueprint design, but case study can also be a method of representation. So it's a method of representation, like this is how we represent case study. So hello, Tandra, good to see you here. So Nabila asked me the follow-up question, like, what methods of data collection or methods of data analysis? Let me know what you're thinking about. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to move on. But Nabila, I'm waiting for your question, waiting for your response back. I love when you ask me questions, Nabila. So okay, so with that being said, the part that is going to be the thing that will make your study strong is that whatever you're using, the research method or the research data collection or the research data analysis or the research data representation, make sure it's congruent with every part of the study. So if you said that you were going to do like a postmodern study, and then you're going to use phenomenological methods for data collection, those two would be not very easy to reconcile. Those two don't go hand in hand. So if you choose to do that, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying if you choose to do that, you need to have a justification for why they are aligned in your mind in that particular way. I never police like you cannot do this and that. I want to exercise intellectual curiosity. So if you have a framework that says essence is not the thing, we want multiplicity, and then you use a tradition that goes for essence, then those two things are saying two different things. But for some reason, if you're able to draw a bridge between the two, then explain why. That's where your currency. That may also be where you're discovering new things for the field. So that's why I never tell people like, this only goes with this, that only goes with that. I just teach you that you need to think critically and you need to make critical justification for how you're connecting all of these pieces. That's really literally where your currency is for the work that you're doing. Okay. Data analysis. Under narrative data analysis, okay, so there are different types of narrative research, Nabila. So like broadly speaking, if you don't have Zhang-Yi Kim's book, Understanding Narrative Inquiry, I would very much ask you to get that. So under narrative research, broadly speaking, narrative research, there are different types of narrative research. So life history is a narrative research, Nabila. Autoethnography is a narrative research. Intellectual curiosity, yeah. Autoethnography is a narrative research. Autobiography is a narrative research. So there are different types of, and of course, narrative inquiry is a narrative research as well. So depending on like different, whatever you're using, storytelling as research is narrative research. Social fiction is narrative research. Creative nonfiction is narrative research. So all of this come under narrative research. The difference that Zhang-Yi Kim tells between narrative and story is multiple narratives make up a story. Multiple narratives strung together will become a story. That's Zhang-Yi Kim's very solid explanation. So now, if you're thinking about broadly narrative research, and then you have narrative inquiry as one of the methodology under narrative research, then your analysis would be what methods of analysis would be narrative analysis. That can be, you can use like Polkinghorne if you want, you can use Clarendon and Connolly if you want, or you can use like storytelling analysis if you want, narrative analysis if you want. There's a lot of different way of doing narrative analysis as well. So a lot of times people will just do traditional analysis of the narratives, and then they'll do like a storied analysis of the narratives as well. Sometimes people move away from the traditional and just only analyze it through narrative elements as well. So it really depends, Nabila, on your own framing, your own worldview, and what you're trying to do with that. And since Stephanie is here, I'll use her example. So when Stephanie was talking about her book, and the analysis process, a lot of the time she was talking about Clarendon and Connolly, but it felt a little misaligned. Not that it was not good, it was good, but it was just a little misaligned. So we started talking. I said to her, like, is this what you did, or is there a more culturally situated way for you to discuss that? And she's like, there is a culturally situated way, but I just thought that this was what I was supposed to do. So I said, no, for my text, because dissertation time is over. For my text, you tell me the culturally situated way. You tell me the thing that you did. And so she did. So then her analysis became very grounded, very embodied, very culturally situated in Black girls' narratives. But it was very specific to her work, and the analysis were very specific to the community and the topic that she was doing. And she framed it that way, and then obviously was very well received and respected. So this is what I'm trying to say, is that you need to kind of know, like, where are you locating yourself? Are you in the narrative? Are you in the narrative inquiry genre? Are you in the autobiography genre? Are you in the autoethnography genre? Are you in the ethnodrama genre? Are you in the life history genre? These are all narrative research. So you just have to kind of know where you are. But narrative inquiry as a methodology has narrative analysis as a data analysis method. So I hope I answered the question. If you have follow-up, please ask. You know I love questions. You know I love questions. Okay, now let's talk about mistake number one. Mistake number one is formulaic thinking. So a lot of times people think, if this is my topic, then this is my theory, this is my methodology, this is my methods of data collection. And it's almost like a plug and play. This goes with this, goes with this, goes with that. That will not be very good. That will actually not even be something you'd be invested in doing well, because you're not really applying yourself. You're thinking that you just have to do something that you think is the standard. There is no standard. Let me tell you, there is no standard. And if you need to hear this scandalous thing that I'm about to say this, we made this all up. We, not me, myself, but lots of other people. That makes a we that came before me, like Ivana Lincoln, Egon Guba. They were the leaders of the field, and they tried to make like an inquiry process that is very open-ended and abstract into tangible things based on how they understood it, right? So in many ways, like, we are creating these approaches and methods. Like, duoethnography is relatively new, and Joe Norris made that up. Like, literally, Joe Norris with his colleague talked about duoethnography. Duoethnography wasn't a thing when I was in grad school. So we are making this interpretive types of methodologies, that we're doing. Sarah Lawrence Lightfoot, has portraiture. She made that up. Made that up doesn't mean it lacks rigor. It doesn't lack rigor at all. That made that up should not be mixed with lacks rigor. But what it means is that people put their own insight and understanding to say, I think this needs to be shaped this way for us to do this work. And then if there's enough shared agreement about that position, then that sticks, that lands. So for example, in the history of qualitative research, we used to have grounded theory through an objectivist grounded theory lens, meaning that the researcher comes in, has no prior perception, bias, assumptions, anything. They just see the data, they report the data. Thank you very much. Let's go. Sterile, sterile, sterile. AF. So Kathy Sharma came in. She just passed away. Rest in peace. She says, no, I don't think there is objectivism. I think it needs to be shaped a little differently. I think there's constructivist grounded theory. I think that people bring whatever meaning they bring to the space, even if they say, I'm going to try to be as neutral as possible. It's an impossibility. So we need to have space for constructivist grounded theory. So that happened, and that became a thing. So that's what I'm saying. As we grow, we evolve, we expand the shape of our field, and basically that is what is happening is, in qualitative research, we are coming up with shared agreements. We think about certain things and we are coming up with shared agreements, and that's what we are doing. So let me know if that made sense, that what I'm saying. So when you do formulaic thing, what you are missing is the positionality of you. So qualitative research is a positionality-based research. Formulaic thinking makes it sterile and disconnected from that positionality. Qual is not plug and play, but curiosity and critical engagement. Any topic can be studied via any tradition in qual, but the positionality is the one that centers you. So let's say I wanted to study experiences of members in the QRE group. Let's say I wanted to study that. Now, I can study it through an interpretive lens, experiences of members in QRE group. But what if I study it through a critical lens, where I say, how did the members in the QRE group find their experience in relationship to discussing topics that are culturally situated? graduated. Now I'm moving to a little bit more critical space. You know, if I wanted to have like a more feminist lens, I would be like, how do the women members of QRE experience mentoring or experience engagement in QRE that makes them feel empowered as women? Do you see this? Like anything can be studied with any lens. It really is the researcher's framing of it. You get to frame it. You get to make the decision, whether it's interpretive, critical, feminist, deconstructive, creative, arts-based, whatever. You get to make the decision. How do you make the decision? It's not like you just sit under a tree and let an apple fall, although you could. But I'm just saying the decision comes from you reading the literature. The decision comes from you saying, you know what, there is nothing in my field in this way that I would love to have seen, therefore I'm going to do this research. So you make that happen, and that's the positionality, and that's why plug and play formulaic stuff don't work really well. That makes it much more sterile, and then you feel like you're forcing yourself into a box. You are bigger than the sterile format. I promise you, every single one of you are bigger than an academic sterile format that boxes you in. So your gift is figuring out what is your positionality and what type of inquiry can come from that positionality. And that drives the research question, which then drives the design. So that is the workflow, the chain of thought. I'm just going to see if anybody said anything over here. Okay, Nabila, I hope I answered your question. You didn't say anything back, so I want to make sure I answered your question. Okay, so that's mistake number one. Mistake number two, improper research purpose and questions, ghost of positivism and post-positivism. I cannot tell you how many times I've had to correct people because their research purpose and questions weren't right. And when I say people, I don't mean graduate students only. I mean all the way to like faculty members, all the way to full professors. I remember even in this group, long time ago when we first started, somebody said, I'm trying to study this and I wrote these research purpose and questions and my professor said they were not right. Can somebody tell me what I'm doing wrong? And the amount of people, full professors with like every decoration, academic medal and honors and decoration, came up with like things that were like wholly incorrect, black and white incorrect. And that told me that people didn't have good training on that. So let me tell you this so that you will not make those mistakes. So first of all, your philosophy of inquiry is super important. And this is why it's important to understand design, because if you just think qualitative is focus groups and interviews and observations, then you don't know the thinking behind it, the mindset behind it. So philosophy of inquiry is the mindset behind the inquiry. Philosophy of inquiry is like what values, beliefs, principles are you going to use to think about this study, to design this study. So that's the philosophy of inquiry. In qualitative research, more often than not, that is constructionism. It can be subjectivism, pragmatism, and other things. That's whatever. But that is, broadly speaking, not positivism, is a pretty easy bet to go. But then I would have like research purposes that says the purpose of the study is to see if a participant improves their test scores after taking the class. To see if there's a relationship between the participant's test score and their learning experience, or this intervention technique. That sounds qualitative, but it's not. Why is it not? It is set up as like a relationship between two construct variables. It is set up as a relationship between participant's test score and the learning experience. You're not saying it exactly like quant, but you're bringing in that type of thinking to the qual space. That is not going to happen because the thing is that you're not studying the effect of one variable on the other. You're studying the way a person understands how that affects them. So the framing would be the purpose of the study is to describe how a participant in this location, in this, via this demographic, whatever the demographic detail is, understands the influence of X on their experience of Y. Now you've located the experience in the participant's experience and not broad. Like you're not saying like, the purpose of the study is to see how photo elicitation creates math literacy in middle schoolers. You're not saying that. That becomes, when you say that, it becomes photo literacy and math education being the two constructs that you're trying to study. But if you said the purpose of the study is to explore students' experiences in a middle school classroom in a southern U.S. state, when they engage with photo elicitation in their math classes. Something like that. If you state it that way, then you're saying, like, I'm not saying this is a relationship of this exploration of this variable on this variable. We're saying, how does this person see that relationship enacted in their learning experiences? So you ground it in the person's experience. You never just broadly frame it. But if you didn't know that, then you think that research questions need to be broadly framed. But it's not. It needs to be specifically framed to the topic so that when you make conclusions about it, you answer that research question. You literally cannot answer a construct variable relationship like that and have like 5 conveniently chosen participants or 15 or 20. Doesn't matter. Because you're not setting it up to make those generalizable statements, because in qualitative research, we cannot generalize because we're not set up the same way, nor do we want to generalize. We go in depth. We offer insights. We do not go and try to generalize because we're not random sampling anything, so we're not generalizing it. Pausing to see how it's landing. Yeah. I find I need to do much better writing in my philosophy of inquiry when I submit articles for review, because when I focus more on methods, as I see in some of the mentor texts from the selected journal, then the reviewers are not getting where I'm coming from, and I'm not doing my part communicating that. Molly, good question and good things. Formula, it's a form where you lie to yourself and where you lay who you are to the side. You form a line between you and your research and rely on the form instead someone else has laid for you bags. Not. Got it. Yes, absolutely. That's so poetic. Fatui, that's so poetic. Okay, Molly, yes. And I would also say, like, think about the journals you're publishing in. If you find a journal that is a little bit resistant to qualitative research, and the examples that you have for qualitative research journals in the text are still sort of not quite there yet, then you know that you might not have the same kind of experience with it, So one of the hacks I would say is, if there's people whose work you enjoy, go see where they're publishing and then target those journals. This is how I did it. Now we have AI. AI can even literally tell you, you put in your abstract and it'll tell you which journals would be appropriate. But if you didn't want to use AI, which I'm not saying to use AI, follow the people's vita, follow the vita to see where have they published. So I when I graduated with educational psychology. Ed psych journals were very behaviorist, very quantitative. They barely understood qualitative, and if they did, they needed to have like some sort of the Cronbach alpha for intercoder reliability and all of those things. And my research wasn't that. My methods weren't that, but they didn't have any awareness of how to even understand open-ended research, open-ended inquiry. And then the other part was higher education. My social context of study was higher education. It too was very resistant to qual pieces. So I started looking at other people's work that I read and where are these people publishing? And I noticed they were publishing in more interdisciplinary spaces. And that's when I learned, like, okay, that is a good place for me to be. I'm going to say, and I'm still interdisciplinary. I began to increase my vocabulary to say that this is what I'm doing. Now, everybody's mileage will vary. I'm not saying everybody must be interdisciplinary researchers, but follow the people that you admire and see where they're publishing, and that could also give you a place that might be more friendly to your work as well. Okay, next point, mistake. So mistake number 2, we talked about, goes to positivism and positivism. Understand the influence of philosophy of inquiry is important. Often people think word-based exploration is qual automatically, but the research purpose and questions are more quant. I talked about that, so I gave you some examples. And then the research purpose, when you write the purpose of this research, because you have to include so many different things, it's okay if it's a little bit run-on sentence. The purpose of the study is to explore the experiences of, describe your participants, describe the context, and then what aspect specifically you're going to do. By the time you finish it all up, it becomes a bit of a run-on sentence. But I will give you this tip. Do not write a whole other paragraph after you write the purpose paragraph, and then 500 miles later you have like the research questions. Research purpose questions, straight back and forth. Like there should be no difference, no distance. Before that, anything you want to say about the context, the purpose, the overall orientation people need to to have in your topic. Say all of that first. Then conclude with the purpose of the study is this, guiding research questions are this, and that's its own section. And the reason being is because you want to show your reader the alignment. Here's the purpose, here's the research question, and people see the alignment right there. If you have research purpose on page 5 and research questions on page 10, the alignment is different. So if you're submitting to journals, they might get a little angry. You said the research purpose on page 5, but you only mentioned the questions in page 10. Why? And you're like, I don't know why, I just was going through all my thoughts. So organize your thoughts so that the purpose and the questions are right next to one another. Okay, next up. Do not use you in the research question. A lot of times, and including me, I remember as a graduate student, I said this out loud in a data analysis class and my professor had to correct me. So including me, I have done that. I have done those things. So I just want to say that you don't need to say you. What is your experience of photo elicitation in math class? You don't, what is the participant's experience in photo elicitation in math class? That's fine. But don't say what is yours. The you comes in the interview. The you, the pronoun you should not be in your research question. It should come in the interview. Does that make sense? Let me know. Because research questions are topical. Okay, awesome, Malia. I'm glad it rang true. Okay. And so I wanna help you all figure things out. And at this semester, like I wanted to do this in summer, I just didn't get time. I was going to do summer workshops. I didn't get time. So I'm going to do some more hands-on workshop, like where you're going to like really get into everything, with a project, and I'm going to help you set things up. I haven't figured out dates yet, but if you want to know when it first comes out, I just put a link there, sign up, and I'll let you know when I figure it out, if I'm going to be offering it and when. Okay. Mistake number 3. I'm going into mistake number 3. Mistake number 3 and 4 are related. Mistake number 3 is lack of understanding of theory, and mistake number 4 is lack of integration of theory. So I'm going to walk you through both of them, and I'm going to also paste this in chat so you have it to take a look at, like the things that I've said, so mistake number 1, mistake number 3. So I do prepare before we come to these lives. I take time, I prepare, I create an outline, then I create the post using the outline, then I create a post live thing, and I have like set of notes. Like I take this seriously. I'm in service mode. I want to make sure that when you come here to a live, this is not a fluff. You get like actual content that is helpful to your own work. I want to be in that helpful mode and service mode. Okay, so let's talk about theory. Theory is probably the only thing that will save you in your study, especially if you're in hostile situations or hostile reviewer, hostile committee, hostile anything. Theory will save you. Let me tell you why. The one thing, the academia is a lot of things, but the one thing academia over and over and over privileges is theory. If you have theory and you can talk with theory, you have a certain type of currency. And it's because you know how to zoom into the weeds and you know how to have a 30,000 feet overview. So that's the theory part of it. You should not choose theory that you think is a formula. Topic X should be theory Y. Never ever do that. Don't come here and say, I'm looking for teacher perception on this. What should be my theory? And somebody says, well, everybody use Pinar, so just go use Pinar's theory. No, you do not want to do that. You want to do the inner work. What does that mean? You want to sit down and say, when was I first interested in this topic? Why was I interested in the topic? You don't need to have academic language in your brain. Just have an honest sort of reflection. When was I interested? Why was I interested? What brought me to this? And then you begin to identify elements of things that were interested. Then you say, like, where then should I be looking for theory that has these elements? And then you bring the theory. By now, theory should feel like a second skin to you. It's an extension of you. It's the lens you put on to understand the topic that you have. So for my dissertation, onto epistemologically, I was decolonial. And then theoretically, it was transnational feminism. Why? I was working with graduate students from India who were in the first year of their studies in the US. I was a transnational person myself, still am. And they were too. And we were women. And I wanted to understand their experiences through a feminist and transnational lens. I can speak like it's water. Like you ask me anything about it, I will be able to. It's been years, obviously 20 years, and I can still talk like it's water because it's my skin. It's an extension of me. It's an extension of my worldview. It's an extension of my positionality. It's an extension of how I make sense of things. So when you have that clarity and a theory that will feel so resonant and it'll cut you deeply, the writing of theorized writing, the application of theory to your data, the application of theory to your, literature review or any other part of the research is going to feel so natural. You don't even have to poke everybody in the eyes and say, I'm just doing theory work here. See, I'm doing theory work here. Nowadays, even when I write like regular language, people are like, I see theory there. I see theory there. This is like, if the theory is in your flesh, it will come out in your writing naturally. It won't even be like a fake thing to do that you might be doing. So for theory, so it needs to match your worldview and thinking process. I talked about that. And the lack of integration of theory. Sometimes people present the theory and call it a day when it needs to be integrated. And so this is what I've seen a lot in my travels in academia. So people might set up a theory, and if it's a dissertation, they set up a theory in chapter 2. If it's a manuscript, they'll set up a theory under like literature review or theoretical framework. They'll set up a theory there. And that's it. We're done. We're not doing anything. We did the theory. We checked the box. See you later. And I am not mocking people who are doing that. I'm not mocking them. I am saying we have not trained you people well to know that it is not like a standalone piece, this little thing in its own island. It needs to flow through every part. And that's probably not talked about. So let me talk about it now. When you think with theory, chapter 1 is what is the lens through which theory helps you understand introducing the topic. When you think with theory, you think of what is the lens through which I'm reading all the literature. When you think with theory, you think what is the lens with which I'm designing the study, collecting the data, analyzing the data, trying to make decisions, ethical decisions, trying to make decisions about representation. What is the lens? What is my guiding inner compass for this? That's theory. Just because that may not be one of the most sophisticated word you can use, trust yourself that theorizing can happen without all the big GRE words. Trust yourself. The big GRE words with which people theorize is a gatekeeping thing, is an access thing. You already know how to theorize. Theorizing just means zooming out 30,000 feet out, looking at broader patterns and making statements of broader patterns that's connected to the worldview and lens that you're seeing it with. So if I see things through a decolonial transnational feminist lens, in my experience, I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing. When I zoom out, I can identify elements of decoloniality, elements of transnationalism, and elements of feminism in my experience. So I am the experiencer and I am the theorizer simultaneously. So it's a double-headed track, basically. And so when that gets integrated, then the whole study comes alive in a way that it wouldn't if you just kept it imprisoned in one place and said, that's a check mark. And it's only a check mark because you don't know the value of that. When you have this lens, it gives you strong argument ability. When you have a lens with which you're thinking, when you have a lens with which you're analyzing the data, when somebody said to you, why did you analyze the data this way? Or worse, we need to see you do X, Y, Z, and it's completely incongruent with your theory. That's when you come up, and that's when you talk about the theory. That I cannot tell you how many times I've done this. I've gone back and I said, my study is informed by decoloniality and transnational feminism. Both of these, blurs binary between first and third worlds. What you're asking me to do is to bring that binary alive, and that's incongruent with my theoretical and onto-epistemic framework and compromises the quality of my study. See? Water. It's like you say the thing you want to say, but you use some academic language with behind it because you have clarity of thought. Theory will save you every time. Do not be afraid of theory. Embrace the one that speaks to you. Embrace the one that is close to your worldview. Embrace the one that is a lens through which you see the world. Naturally, organically, you will find a theory that is that resonant. And if you can't, create a conceptual framework. Maybe you like a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of that. Create the conceptual framework. And I can do a whole other talk on conceptual framework if you need me to. But I just want to emphasize how theory can fail here. I missed mistake number one. Akuso, it's recorded, so you can just go through the recording and you can look at it, because once I finish it, it will be here. Okay. All right. So the next one is mistake number 5. It is the last mistake: generic design versus culturally responsive design. So this is what I started with. The generic design is that often people think every qual design should be interviews, focus groups, observations, documents. Now, that is how we have done qualitative research, where we have interviews, observations, document analysis. That has been primarily what qualitative research has been. But that doesn't have to be like that. That doesn't need to be like that. So when we are talking design, people just put those in. I'm going to give you another mnemonic, another heuristic to think with that's going to make sure your design is very solid. Sorry, I have cough coming up. Okay, so the design question you need to ask yourself when you're thinking about what to put together is this: if this wasn't a qualitative study and I just want to learn this by being in relation, by being in community with the participant, how would I approach it? If I didn't have an academic gun pointed at me, how would I approach this? So I'll give you an example of this. So one of my former mentee, advisee, her name is Keandria McClish. You might have seen her name in this. We have written together, published together. She wanted to study older Black women's experiences of spirituality and sexuality as they learned from informal learning environments. She was in adult education, right? So when we're thinking about design, she's like, I can just get the women here in the university and just do a focus group with them. So we paused and I said, do you think these older women are going to come to a sterile university conference room and talk about their sex lives, intimacy, and spirituality in details with depth and richness? Or will they give you like very, very polite answers? And she's like, yeah, I probably wouldn't get that. So I said, okay, if you weren't doing this project for a dissertation, move it out of your mind frame. You just wanted to learn this. What would you do? And that's when she started saying things like, I would probably go at their home. I would probably help them cook. I would probably sit at the kitchen table and they will show me things, pictures, objects, memorabilia and things, And so then I said, then that's the design. That's the design. Even if it's not listed somewhere, that's the design. And so this is what I want you to focus on, like what makes a design a design? It makes a design a good design if it's responsive to the people that you're going to be working with. Think of like what is a very natural way of engaging them, and that's your design, like that's your data collection. So what are some of the things you can do with that? You can do you can ask them to do a mixed playlist. So I'm going to put the examples in here as some examples just to kind of get you thinking about it. So you can have like mixed playlist, you can have photo elicitation, you have object elicitation, you can walk and talk, you can cook together, you can do sister circles together, you can do kitchen table talks. It doesn't literally, I want you to think without limiting yourself in any shape or form, and just say that anything can be a design if it makes sense for deepening the trust, relationship, and community with the participants. So you can have, for a lot of my study, it was more conversation. It wasn't like predetermined interview questions, because when I was asking interview questions with a recorder in front of my people, they got very formal. They were like, I am being recorded. This is being like preserved for posterity. I will be very formal public version of myself. I learned that in my pilot study, that they were being very formal. So what I did, because then the response was very sterile. So then what I did was I let them know I was going to record things, but I kept my recorder. I bought like a Sony recorder with nice voice catching range, put it in my purse so they are not seeing it visually, but they know it's there. And then we would just sit somewhere and just start talking. And I would say things like, so how was your day? Tell me about your day. And they'll tell me about their day. They'll ask me about my day. And it was okay because I was using a feminist method, and feminist method talks about power sharing. Decolonial methods talk about power sharing, So it was okay with me for them to put me under the gaze as well, just as much as I was putting them under the gaze by asking them questions. And that's how we deepen the relationship. And literally the quality of your study is an indictment on the relationship you built with the participant. If the relationship is deep and good and trusting, the data you collect are deep and good and trusting. If the relationship is superficial, you don't know a whole lot about the dynamic of it, then what happens is they're probably giving you polite, superficial answers, just to kind of answer your question, but it's not done through a relationality. It's done through a transactionality. And I'm telling you, and this may be the decolonial in me, the feminist in me, the critical in me, I'm telling you, because research inherently is a colonizing process and an exploitative process, you need to neutralize it by forming ethical relationships. You cannot form ethical relationships if you start using sterile, one size fits all type of method, like interviews, focus group. If interviews are going to create distance, then don't use interviews. Do conversations, do a task together and talk. People sometimes will make art together and talk about experiences. I've had collaging and talking. We're collaging together. They're doing their part, I'm doing my part. We're just talking. We're just meandering through multiple topics. And I got the richest stuff. Sometimes whatever they said, I would come back and I would do a mixed medium art of their responses. And then I would take that mixed medium art and go back to them and say, can we talk about this? Tell me what you see, and I'll show you where I put it in there, or what I put it in there that maybe you said but didn't say it exactly that way. And we would have I kid you not, after I went back with my painting, I had a 90-minute conversation. They could not stop talking. And I have richness after richness out of that conversation. So all I'm saying, this is all to say, is that because we make this up as we go along, don't limit yourself to think that I have to do these 3 methods when I'm doing dissertation. No, you don't have to. Think broadly, think relationally, think culturally, think organically, and then posture yourself as a learner, not as I'm a university researcher. Posture yourself as a learner to say, how would I enter the space humbly to learn? And what would be the best way to learn, to respect that being and my desire to know? What is a good balance between the two? And what would be the most organic way for me to learn? So for me, I was working with international students. Of course, because they're in a different country, they will save memorabilia, they will take pictures. So photo elicitation and object elicitation was a very natural method. I didn't even have to ask them to take pictures. I gave them, back at the day, we didn't have smartphones. So I gave them those disposable cameras, but they already came with their own cameras. They're like, we don't want your camera. That's a bad camera. Don't give me that camera. We have our own cameras, So they had their own cameras, and they would upload their pictures, and then they would put it on a slideshow walking me through the pictures on their laptop, and they'll start talking about the picture, but then they will talk about a connected topic that is not on the picture. And that there is no way I could have known that through interviews, because I wouldn't have known what is 5 layers under, So having some participant elicited conversation allows you to catch something that maybe you wouldn't catch just with your questions alone. So all of this is to say that you need to understand what is the most organic way to relate and form relationality with the people that are your research participants, collaborators, co-creators, and then decide what would make most sense for all of you all. And that's where the design error is. A lot of times people just do, basically, if you can sum up everything I'm saying today, don't go formulaic on your design, on your research purpose, on your research question, on your theory, on your data collection methods. Really sit with your positionality first, then decide what is your lens and worldview. Then decide why are you interested in the topic. Then decide like what theory will match all of this, like what theory is a natural extension of all of this. Make sure that is integrated in everything. And then when you're doing a design, make sure you know the difference between methodology and methods. And methodology is the big blueprint. Methods would be like the things that you tangibly would be doing. So those would be your methods. And the same methods can go with multiple methodologies because they're very friendly, promiscuous, polyamorous beings, and then the methods themselves don't have to be traditional if they don't need to be traditional. Make sure those methods are responsive to the person, the community that you're working with, not something that you're like imposing on them to do or making it become so sterile and artificial that the data won't have any richness. You want richness, you want good stories, you want to understand experiences with depth and layers and nuances. And so for that, you need to set up a condition that would allow you to get that information in that form or format. Does that make sense? Ask me questions. Jason! So good to see you, Jason. Okay, ask me questions if you have any, and if anything like really landed for you, please tell me like what landed, because I would love to know. Like I'm just talking into the wind, and I'm just seeing myself and I'm smiling at myself, which feels very weird, very, very weird. But this is the quickest way to do it. Otherwise, I have to create a Zoom link every week and then share the Zoom link. This way, people just come and listen to it over here. Okay, so did this land for you all? Do you have questions that I can answer that I may not have answered? Because I want to take another 5 minutes to answer questions because I know I started late because of the tech snafu. So yeah, so tell me if you have questions or tell me what landed well for you, and I will answer them. And I know from the time I ask you a question and the time that you answer, it can be like a little bit of a lag, and I get super impatient. I have ADHD. I get impatient and I say the same thing over and over again. Forgive me. It's just occupational hazard. So yeah, if you have questions, let me know. If it landed well, let me know what landed well. That would be very, very helpful to me. Let me see if I can share a little bit more of my notes as well. Akuso, you wanted to know about the first mistake. I'll cut and paste from my note what I said the first mistake was. This was the first mistake, so that you know this as just a summary, but listen to it when I say this. Like listen back to the video as well, then you'll have the first mistake as well. And then I don't know if you were here for the second mistake, but this is the second mistake, so I'm just going to put that in the chat as well. This is the second mistake. Okay, so all right. The discussion and the theory notes landed. I have a question though. I guess I'm wondering how best to move into theory. Why did it go away? How best to move into theory, and then it just ran away. Ran away. What did you say? Please retype. It's not showing me. It's like going on real time, so it's not showing me the comments. I'm sorry. How best to what? Please retype. Please cut and paste again. Retype it again. I would love to see what you said. I want to answer. I think I needed today from working on my next project and just needed some affirmation. Awesome, Stephanie. Awesome. Whatever project you're working, I'm sure you'll be good. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to say like make it unapologetically you, make it unapologetically your vibe, make it unapologetically if nobody else has done it, it's okay for you to be the first one to do it that way as well. It's actually really cool if you're the first one to do it that way, because then you're just really dancing to your own rhythm. You're paying attention to the way your brain wants to connect certain things together. So hold that together, hold that steady together. If you're doing culturally situated work, Stephanie, which I know you are, I can't imagine you're doing work that is not culturally situated. So if you're doing culturally situated work, do what you did for the dissertation, like do the thing that you feel is most responsive to the community. It will build like deeper relationship with the community. And then any method is okay, as long as it's deepening the relationship and deepening you understanding whatever it is that you're understanding or trying to study. Okay. Gordon, thank you. No, I'm guessing how best to move into theory that is a bit outside my research and participants is pushing me into new spaces, but I really don't know the theoretical histories, and I wonder how best to bring these theories in. Oh, I love this question. So let me tell you, like when I first started doing education work, I was also taking like like I was getting a graduate certificate in women's studies or gender studies, and then I was also in cultural anthropology classes as well. So, because of that, of course, I was introduced to anthropological theories and humanities theories and gender theories, which are very different from educational theories, which was ed psych and ed research was my space, right? So this was that, right? So when I was in those spaces, I realized that I fell in love with Anzalduan theory. That was not something I was in education, but it was in gender studies. I fell in love. I am still in love with Anzaldua's theories, right? It cut me deep. It made me feel seen. I understood it. And so I just decided, like, what is my bridge to this theory? Why am I connected to this theory? And when I could figure out and articulate the bridge where this is me, this is Anzalduan theory, and this is my topic. So once I knew this bridge, I just kept articulating that as the bridge. The reason I'm doing this, the reason I'm building this Anzalduan theory, to this day, I'm writing a paper on AI and qual. Stephanie, we need to talk. I saw your AI post. I had so many thoughts about your AI post, Stephanie, that I may do a whole AI series based on that AI post you had. I just figured out, like, maybe I need to do a series on ADHD and AI and how people with ADHD might be using AI. So if you want to talk, Stephanie, I'm absolutely open to talking about it. But even in my AI work, I'm bringing in Anzaldua. Nobody's talking about Anzaldua with AI. I am, because that's what's in my brain. That's my bridge. That's my connector. And so I just articulate, like, how is it connecting? And that's all you really need to do. You want to say, I'm using this. Traditionally, people use this theory, but in this case, I'm using this because of XYZ. You know the reason because it's in your body, it's in your brain, it's in your mind. Just articulate the reason. I hope that helps. What is my bridge? Yes, the bridge we call home even. Exactly. See how much influence Anzaldua has on me? Like, even when I'm using like regular everyday word, you know that that's also a theorized word. So this is why I'm saying, like, when the theory is your skin, you don't have to be like, I'm doing a theory work here. You already picked up the minute I said bridge that there is some Anzalduan influence, possessing me in the moment, basically. So yes, so basically you figure out, because it's integrated in your body, Gordon. It's integrated in your body. And because it's integrated in your body, that's why you want that to be articulated, how it is integrated. So just kind of sit with the journal, like, how is it integrated? What is the things that are connecting and making sense for you? And then move from there. I think that would be good. Sonia, yes, I'll do ADHD and AI series. And I am about to start a podcast with AI as well. You heard it first here. It'll be here in September, because I feel like I have so many thoughts to say in AI. I can't capture it in one paper or one book. Plus, AI as a field moves so fast that I just need to, I have thoughts. So I need to keep talking because I have thoughts. Okay. Anything else? Bridge, that's it. And then articulated. Yeah. I think that's it. I'm not seeing any more questions coming up. I really love talking about this. So what I am seeing here, the kind of question and engagement that I'm seeing here, makes me think that I need to do more like technical type stuff, like how-to stuff or what to avoid stuff. And I'm happy to do it because I'm always scanning to see like what is resonating and what is not resonating. And then Fetui, I saw that you said it was affirming, and I love you, girl. You know I do. All right, I will see you next week. Actually, next week, let me tell you what we're doing next week. Next week, we're going to do how to set yourself up for the whole semester. I know for many people in this part of the world, not in Australia probably, but in this part of the world or New Zealand, we're entering a fall semester. which is our academic year. So I kind of want to help you set up and build a strategic plan. So come with some notes or papers or something. We're going to work through a strategic plan for the academic semester. So that's next week. All right. With that being said, I love you all. Thank you so much for being here and putting up with my tech snafu and still showing up. And I will see you next week. Bye for now.